Hey guys, Tim here. You might remember me from other Meridian instructional videos like how to use a line trimmer or how to feed trim line. But today we're going to talk about shears and a bit of safety stuff about them and a brief description of how to tackle a hedge. Basically, these are the shears we use mostly. We have two types. We have these short shears. I got a 24-inch blade, and we have the long extension shears for bigger projects. Today we're just going to talk about these. The engine is the same on each machine, so this is kind of useful for that machine as well. There's a few parts you're going to want to know to identify on the machine before you use it. It's a lot similar to the line trimmer. This is the ignition switch right here. It snaps back, so it's always default on, but to turn it off you would just click it there and engage that. Gas tank here, again, this is a mixed gas engine. Do not put straight gas into this tank. The choke is right here for starting it up. Same as the trimmer, when it's cold you're going to want to engage the choke like that before you start it up. These have been used several times throughout the day, so this machine should start up no problem. So you don't want to have it on if you don't need it, because you're going to flood the engine. This is the guard for the blade too, so whenever you're using this guard, or whenever you're handling the machine without the guard on, you've got to put gloves on first. Many people have cut their legs or hands on the blade even when the machine's not running. So I'm going to take the guard off. Before you use this machine too, protective equipment you must wear gloves, ear protection and eye protection. I'm wearing glasses right now. These are not good enough. They could shatter if a rock hit them. So I'm going to take these off and put on these cool safety shades. So when you're looking at a hedge like this, basically, first you want to kind of identify any kind of hazards that could go wrong when you're doing the hedge. So a lot of times there'll be a sprinkler head in there, or even this one, you can see the fence at the back. If you put your shears in too far, it could cut the blade or damage the fence, which is not good either. A hedge like this, it might not look perfect when you do the top. You might need to get back there and snip stuff off. I'm not going to do that for the purpose of this video, but if you want to make it look perfect at the back, that's a good way to do it. I would usually start by doing the sides of the hedge first. A hedge like this, it's not the most mature hedge. It's not super thick and full. So this one, I just want to do some kind of light cuts to give it a bit of shape on the edge here. And then down here. So to get it straight, a good way to do it is you want to kind of stand back and look at the hedge and kind of pick a line that you can vision going straight. So right here, it's coming out a bit like that. I would kind of take it here and go up to the top and get it nice and straight. I'm not going to take a ton off this hedge just because, again, it's not the most mature hedge. I want it to kind of grow a bit. But once we do regularly, you can make them nice and straight and square. You want to make sure you're taking enough off so that it looks nice and tight, but you don't want to go in too hard where you expose brown foliage, because that's going to take a while to come back and it'll look really crappy. Another thing to think about too, this machine pumps out a lot of heat, so you don't want to rush through the hedge, but you also don't want to just idle too much on one spot, because the machine's going to pump out heat and it could burn the hedge. So that's why you'll see a couple weeks later you see big brown marks in a hedge, and that can look bad too. Start on the sides, do a nice cut, come down here for this video. We're only going to go to this spot right here. We're not going to do the whole hedge for the purpose of this video. After the sides, I'd kind of take a step back and I would visualize kind of the top of the hedge and visualize a straight line. Sometimes you can see peaks and valleys. This one's pretty good. It's not too out of whack here. What I would do is I would kind of pick the mid spot of the hedge and kind of make everything else come to that. It starts off a little bit low here, and right here is kind of the high point. So you want to make sure you're staying at the same line you're cutting that as you move to this piece, just so that it's all nice and even at the end. Okay, so I'm going to start the machine. Again, like the trimmer, you want to start it on the ground, ear protection on, chokes off, because this machine's already been used today. So you make sure it's on, hold it nice and steady. You can anchor it with your foot here so that it doesn't move when you pull it. There you go. One thing too, when you're using this machine and you're walking around with the blade, you always want to make sure the blade's pointed away from you. You don't want to walk with it pointed in. You could bump into something, you could nick your leg. So always carry the machine so that the blade is pointed out and away from you. And of course you make sure no one else is around that you could walk into or anything like that. So now I'm going to start doing the hedge. That's kind of my first initial cut on the hedge, and what I like to do is kind of now take a few steps back and see kind of where my high spots and low spots are. So I can look right now and quickly identify this spot right here is a little bit high coming off there. So a good way to you can get into trouble if you kind of look at something and see it and then take your eye off it and then go do the hedge. So what I like to do, so you look at it from afar and then you walk straight up to it without taking your eye off the spot you want to even out. So I can see that point. I'm going to walk right to it. And that way you kind of can even it out without, creating another problem. Now this hedge isn't perfect, but you kind of get the idea of what I'm going for up to there.